becoming a professional bass player. My name's Deborah and this is the video journal of my career transition. And that was the beginning of Stars by Simply Red, which I've been going over again since my lesson last week with Michael Mondesir. I learned so much stuff, my head was absolutely fit to burst, and I'll gradually be sharing some of that with you in these films over the coming weeks. But in that particular piece, what I've been learning about my playing is that firstly, I'm keeping my fingers too far off the board, off the fretboard, as if they're sort of, what Michael would say, they're playing a game of the floor is lava. And actually, I've learnt that I can get to all of those notes much quicker if I keep my fingers near, instead of this one being off like that, going, oh, I mustn't touch, I mustn't get too involved. If I really, this one can be on the board much more often than it is. Now I'm finding that quite hard at the moment because of course I've been practicing to try and get precision, and my fingers have been coming off like a spider, but actually I'm sort of thinking that they need to be a bit more like a caterpillar on the fretboard all of the time, because otherwise it's really difficult to hit those notes. So that's just one of the things that has improved since my lesson with Michael. Lots and lots of others. So yesterday I was very lucky and I had a lesson on pedals with Alex Moore. Now, Alex Moore is one of the Talking Low bassists. He's a bassist for hire, and he plays, is very cool, and he plays with Roots Maneuver and Baby Soul. They're at Ronnie Scott's in March. And perhaps coolest of all for some groups, CBeebies, Mr. Bloom, he's in that. he's in the orchestra for that. And he very kindly gave me a lesson on pedals because, as you can hear, I'm getting much more interested in sound now and the sound that I make. Simply Red is sort of one sound. They have one sort of bass sound, one main bass sound, but particularly in Divine Funk, there are so many different styles, all within disco and funk, that it's really a headache to try and move those. You remember I was showing you all the different knobs on my guitar the other week? To try and move all those knobs and in between songs, especially when I've got so much to think about in terms of scenery and what's happening and interacting with the audience, it just can't be done. So it's time to look at pedals. And Alex was explaining to me that quite often lots of bassists, when you really get into it, don't use their pedals because pedals are effects that you put, for those of you that don't know, pedals are effects that you put onto your bass guitar to make them sound a certain way. And if you're depping and you're coming into a gig fresh and you're just sight reading and you've only just seen that piece of music, you don't know where the effects go, or you might not know. So it just adds an extra layer of complication. But in a show that you're playing a lot and you know really well, and obviously that's the case with Divine Funk, it's very appropriate. So I'm going to share with you over here a picture of Alex's pedal board, which his wife very beautifully got all the different colours. Alex loves rainbows, and his wife got leads in all the different colours of the rainbow, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So this is I'm just referring to my notes to make sure I give you the correct terminology. This is a pedal train board, and those cables are made by Mojo. If you want beautiful coloured cables, you can ask this company in the north of England called Mojo. And the first pedal that Alex really said I should get, and I completely agree, is a tuner. So that's this one at the top, the Polytune with the pink button. And that will tune my guitar, and also it will mute my guitar. So Ray, my lead guitarist, will be delighted to hear this because he's fed up with me sort of clapping away and getting involved, and I'm bashing my strings. Sometimes I'm not very aware. And he's going, oh, Derb, please just turn the button down when you do that, because it just like reverberates around his ears. So good news, Ray. I'm going to get this tuning pedal. Also, this tuner here on the end of my bass guitar, there you go, has been good, but it doesn't get down to the low Bs, and it's really frustrating because I've got a 6 string, I've got a very low B. Listen to this B. That's really low. The B is, there's a B that's slightly higher for you. It picks that up, really doesn't pick that one up. So to be able to do that easily is going to make life really straightforward. So that's definitely the first thing I'm going to get. I'm also going to get a Sans Amp Bass Driver DI. Now that is the box in the, it's the black box with the yellow writing on the top line, at the end of the top line there. And that enables me to go without an amp. So at the moment I have an enormous amp. It's down here by my side. It's like a big suitcase and it's quite heavy. And I was explaining, I have actually been to Body Pump in order to get the muscles. Let's see if they're there. Ah, look at that, look at that, look at that. Tiny bicep there. I have actually been trying to work out so that I can lift this amp. But it would be better sometimes, particularly if I'm going a long distance, to be able to go straight into what's called the mixing desk. And I need that pedal in order to be able to do that. It does lots of other things as well. It can also adjust my sound on that pedal like I can do on my, mine is a combined amp. So that means it has a preamp in it and I can change the equalizer, so the bass, middle and treble on the amp, but that pedal can do it for me. So I can go straight into the mixing desk and I don't need to carry around my heavy amp with me. And I'm also going to get, I'll save the pièce de la résistance till last. So I'm going to get an Octave pedal, which is the brown pedal in the middle of the bottom row. And that is a, where's that one? Boss Octave pedal. I'm going to get one of those because that, when you play a note, it will play, you can either, it will play a higher, it will play an octave higher or an octave lower. Well, actually, no, it would be an octave lower and an octave lower than that. You don't often use both of them. You can choose to have, you have this on microphones sometimes. Actually, that might be a good way of explaining it. My dear friend, Math, who you might remember from a previous episode, is no longer with us, but always with us. He had a microphone that you could, when he was doing Duran Duran, he could switch the octave button on and he would sing, but what would come out was his voice and his voice made an octave lower so that there would be a thicker, fuller sound. And so basically this pedal just does that for the bass, and that is going to be a good thing for me, so I can add a thicker, fuller, richer sound. So that will be nice. I think that's quite important. And finally, he told me about this really cool pedal. It's about £290 and it keeps selling out, so I should probably order it before I post this video. But it's called the Bass Synth pedal. Now, we were talking about bass synths at Talking Low the other week. George Beaumont and Alex were talking about their, you can see why I need a mute pedal, can't you? I keep bashing this as we're talking. We're talking about their bass synths, and it looks essentially like a keyboard, and that for me, there's a wee bit of a turn off. I don't really want to play a keyboard. I love the actual bodiness of holding a guitar. You know, if I wanted to be a keyboard player, I would. So, I mean, who knows on this journey? I might get into that at some later date. But a bass synth pedal really interests me. Now, this bass synth pedal, now let me just read my list here. It has 8 different settings, and those settings will make your bass sound like, setting 1 is the bass in Thriller. Setting 2 is a Stevie Wonder sound. Setting 3 is a Herbie Hancock sound. Setting 4 is, I can't read my own writing, but I know one of them is a Peter Gabriel sound. There's a Bjork sound, a 9 Inch Nails sound, and one that's Dead Mouse sound. I don't know Dead Mouse. It's not as useful as the other ones to me, but I was immediately sold when I heard those first 4 sounds. I was like, that is absolutely right. So The other thing that I was thinking of getting was an envelope filter, which it makes your bass go wow, 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 you know, all those real sort of funk sounds. But I think actually this synth pedal might give me more versatility, because if you think I've got to do in Divine Funk, I've got to play Michael Jackson, George Benson, Steely Dan, Lizzo, Chic. I've got all sorts of different sounds there, and some of them are quite 80s as well. So I think this bass synth pedal is going to be the one. So it means I've got a bit of an investment to make, which I don't do lightly. You know, I'm much more interested in how much I can play and learn. And doing things, you know, making sure I've really earned this next piece of equipment. But I've been thinking about this for quite a while, and I think it might be time to take this step. I feel a bit nervous about it because, you know, there's a good couple of £100 there. You know, if I get all those 4 pedals, I'm not sure I'm going to have change out of £1,000. So I'll have to really think about it. But what I am very fortunate in is that I've been able to, I think, get the best advice. So thank you very much, Alex. He told me loads more in our my hours tutorial on bass pedals, but that's enough for now, I think. And I will be back at the end of the week. You take care. Bye-bye.